What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Second Avenue Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Linares.
I'm your the host, Elijah Venencia. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a very bad week in fantasy for me. I'm just going to kick it off with that, man. I have some extreme disappointment in my team this week. Changes are going to be made. I was projected
Mm.
130 in both, or 130 like 7 and 130, and so 267 combined. There, we'll round up, say 270. Actually, we'll round down, give my team the benefit of the doubt. How many points did my team score this week combined? Don't look, just give me a guess.
Combined, I'll say 200.
We scored 158.45. Extremely disappointing effort by my team.
Yikes.
I'm embarrassed, especially for those projections and just to come out like that. So I am 3-2 in one league and 2-3 in the other league. Extremely disappointing start to my season. I don't know if it's locker room issues, what's going on here, but we need to get this figured out. So
Yeah, I know as a GM, you're going to be on top of that, though. So better weeks to come. In my hometown league, I'm about to take my first loss, probably. I'm losing by like 30 points, and he has the kicker for the Raiders left, and I have Jacoby Myers and Josh Jacobs. So that, it could go either way, but I'll probably lose. And then in our league, I had a good week. I scored 135, but the guy I'm playing scored 139. Unfortunately, the 49ers were just winning by too much yesterday. I had McCaffrey left, and he needed 18 points to win me the game, and he just got pulled. Obviously, they don't want to risk injuries in a game where they're winning by 40 points. So I get it, but for
he's
my
a
fantasy
fraud.
game, it was
You should
tough.
trade him to me.
Okay. Yeah. George Pickens.
Yeah, I could possibly actually. It's a little steep. Maybe who do I got on the bench there? I don't know. We'll figure it. We'll work something out. But yeah,
Okay.
his value is at an all-time low right now. So
Yeah, of
sell.
course. Yeah, I should definitely sell him. But no, whatever. That's fantasy for the week. We'll be back next week on that. I guess we had to give some love to the Bears, though. I mean, I'm not like go Bears, like I'm losing sleep when they lose every week guy, but like, I'll tune in. And I tuned in a little bit like, okay, that was fun. I didn't watch many of the games they lost in a row, but I know all my Bears boys, they were down pretty bad. So
Yeah.
hopefully they're feeling better. I know as an Eagles fan, you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't
Yeah.
understand the struggles of
Strong,
going
strong 5-0
4 years
start.
with
Yeah.
losing.
But yeah, I won't get into too much on Bears here. So let's move on.
We got to keep our people happy. Shout out to the Bears. Justin Fields, DJ Moore.
Fields is him, MVP. They're going to the Super Bowl. Best team I've ever seen.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay. On to the next thing. We got to show some love to Clams Casino. If you tuned in to the last episode, we dropped our fall playlist. We dropped our clips on Instagram of some of the songs from the playlist just so you guys could get a feel what was going to be on it. Before you check it out, one song, Elijah's Pick, 4 Gold Chains by Lil Peep, produced by Clams Casino. We posted it. We tagged all the artists, tagged Clams Casino. He gave us that repost on the story, so shout out to him. That was big. It basically like doubled the engagement of the post, so that was
made our week
big
as
W.
well.
Yeah, I was feeling good after that. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it was really exciting, honestly. Just a little repost, and like the video was good. It was good stuff there. So we didn't get to mention him in here, obviously, just being the producer. I didn't really think of it. So shout out Clams Casino. I feel like the beat makes that song just as good as the vocals. So
of course. And shout out to everybody else to share it too. We're showing some love to Clams Casino right now, but everybody else that showed love, we appreciate you as well, of course. Always.
Shout out the boy Chris, though. He gave us the shout out on the story. And when I was going through that, I was like, what fucking song did he put? And it was the Spotify exclusive. I was like fucking pissed, like getting so pissed trying to find that and put it in the playlist. I was like, I did not miss one.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was a funny moment there, but
that's good. I love it. All right, we are officially back. Songs of the week. We've been slacking on songs of the week. You guys like to get a little bit of a sense of what we're listening to each week. So we'll try to be as consistent with these as we can be moving forward. Kick us off here with your first song of the week.
We got Dreams Money Can Buy. So this got a private story post by me. It had something to do with For All the Dogs, but we're going to get in that in a little bit. You obviously read the title, but man, when this one dropped, this was I think going into not dropped, of course, obviously it came to streaming services. I'll say, um, going into my senior year, the summer. This is just such a good vibe here. I love Dreams Money Come By. So
That's an all-time Drake hit right there. I love that one. Don't even know if I should say hit. Like it's almost like I don't know. Every song that Drake puts out
yeah,
is basically a hit. Everybody knows that all of them. But yeah, before it was on streaming services, I would say it was a deeper cut. But yeah, it's massive. Great song. Love it. My first song of the week, I got How Much Is Weed by Dominic Fike. I really wanted a Dominic Fike song in the fall playlist. It
uh,
just didn't feel right though. He gives me more summer vibes, more spring vibes. I'm sure he's got some tracks that would fit. How Much Is Weed though? That was one that I was like,
that
just out of how much I was listening to it, I was like, I would like to have that in the playlist, but I ultimately picked some other songs. But I do love this track, so I had to give it a shout out this week.
Uh, I mean, I have a couple amendments. First Take should have made it. The Bug Collector, Haley Hendrix, that was another one that I was disappointed I didn't make it. And another one that definitely should be in this playlist, and not the summer one, is Politics and Violence. I mean, that could honestly be in every playlist, I guess. It could give me any vibe. It hits every time, but this literally, it would have been like a shoe in here. So
It does. I questioned it. I don't remember if I questioned it on the episode or just in general.
mhm.
When you picked that, that was like one of our first playlists, though. So, we weren't as skilled with our playlist picks as we are now. We weren't as polished. But yeah, I love Politics and Violence. I, that almost gives me, it's a mix between like fall and winter.
I could see it being in any setting as well, though. I mean, just like the first half, I feel like it does give you spring, summer vibes, I
Uh
guess, and
huh.
then that back half is definitely just yeah, fall or winter vibes. So
Hmm. I had a couple. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst by Kendrick. That felt like a fall playlist song I should have. And Practice by Freddie Gibbs. Those were two that I was like, I kind of wanted to get him in there, but I want some other things, kind of switch up the sound a little bit. We were talking about this. I mean, I love that playlist. It's, I think, our
yeah,
best one. You think our best one. A lot of people that have listened to it have enjoyed it. I know that much. Yeah, it's a good playlist. I'm happy with it. And it's a lot of different sounds, but it all kind of comes together very nicely. So I think it turned out pretty good. If you haven't given it a listen, please go give it a listen because I think you'll enjoy it. There's something
yeah.
for everybody in that one.
Um, Moving on here, my second track, we got Bottom by Gunna, and I just am gonna say this now. I'm gonna be talking about this album in 2 months, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, okay. My next song, I'll also be talking about in 2 months here. I think this is a little bit looser one that, it might not. It's Postcards by Frex, indie artist. Nice single here. It just dropped. I've been liking this one a lot. I feel like we've been talking about it in my favorite tracks of the year. That's a little bit looser though, because it's not like, okay, it's 100% going to be in here, but it's one that right now I could definitely see it being in my top tracks. But like I said, it's tracks. So tracks is different than albums. I feel like I would be more like set on albums. Tracks, it's really going to depend how I'm feeling that week we decide to put that episode out. But as of right now, I've been liking this one a lot, and I would definitely recommend giving this one a listen. If you're into that indie sound, she got a great voice too, which I think that alone worth a listen.
Moving on to my last one here, we have Yale by King Carson. This is one Mauricio and I were just listening to, and he's like, "You like King Carson?" I was like, "I mean, I'm not like huge on him, in that whole rage scene, but I was like, it's all right." So shout out the boy Mauricio. I had to find a way to bring him in. So
Love. I like that track. I think that might have been the first Ken Carson song I heard. I don't know.
definitely
I
for
don't
me.
really listen to Ken Carson like that, so I don't really remember. It was either Yale or Teen Bean. It was one of those two, and those are really two of the only ones I listen to. So if you're a Ken Carson fan, put me on to what I gotta listen to because I feel like I don't give him enough respect. All right, my last track of the week, I got Never Catch Me by Flying Lotus and Kendrick Lamar. This song just popped in my head. The beat, I just like thought about it one day. I was like, I gotta listen to that track. And it took me back to Lollapalooza. Kendrick had these guys on stage who they looked like marionette figures. Like they had like weird masks kind of, and they were dancing. And they danced to like the instrumental of this song. And it was fire. Just the movements. If you hear the song, I think you can kind of picture how they were dancing, but it was dope. And so that was immediately what I thought of when I heard this song again?
This is like pretty off topic here, but so you brought in Kendrick, sing about me, I'm dying of thirst, and you brought him back in Kendrick. This has really been something I've wanted to bring in the podcast for like a long time here. I'm not a huge fan of To Pimp a Butterfly. I don't know. I've given it so many chances. If you've noticed that this vinyl right here was To Pimp a Butterfly. And so I've always tried to listen to it on vinyl, listen to it in any setting. And the other day, it's been, a few weeks probably. I put it on vinyl and listened to the whole thing. And yeah, it got taken down. So
Oh my God.
extremely overrated album in my eyes. I've tried to understand it. I don't understand the hype behind it, but yeah, shout out Kendrick Lamar. He's one of my top artists. But yeah, just very random. I didn't know when I wanted to bring it in, but now is the moment. So
Yeah, that one's been eating at you for a minute, I guess. That's crazy. That was such a random thing to go out right now. And the people are not going to be happy. Actually, I think some people will probably be happy that you said that.
This
some
is
people
like
are probably right there with
good
you.
to go to war. Yeah.
Yeah. I love To Pimp Butterfly though. It's like neck and neck with Good Kid, Mad City though. I'm not like, oh yeah, it's like the best, but they're both really good. Everything Kendrick has put out is, he's very consistent. So, I don't know. I love To Pimp Butterfly though.
I don't know if it's like the social media influence behind it, there are people who will die on the hill that this is the greatest album of all time, greatest, like not even rap album, greatest album of all time. And that's sickening to me. I don't know.
Yeah, to each his own. That's a little crazy to me though, personally. I really was not that into it when it first dropped. I was like 17. Yeah, 17. I was like, it's cool, whatever. All Right was good. King Kunta was good. But now I'm going back to Wesley's Theory. I'm going back to Institutionalized. I'm going back to These Walls. I think, I don't know. Obviously you've given it some tries, so I won't say give it a try and it'll stick, but
this is like 10 years in the making here. Like it's and I felt like it's been years now that I've kind of just had that thought in the back of my head, and maybe I'm gonna get torched for this, but it had to be brought out. So
okay, fair enough. I appreciate your bravery to share that with
this is really a scary thing.
Yeah, you might get eaten up, but I respect you for standing on that, because I know one thing about you. You're gonna stand on business. All right. We're talking a lot about Kendrick here. We got to talk about with one of the other Mount Rushmore, the 2010s. You've seen the title. Today's episode. We're talking about our first thoughts on Drake's new album, For All the Dogs. Let's, I guess, just kick it off here. Like, what are your overall thoughts on the album? Then we can kind of go into, favorite songs, moments, things like that as we go throughout this conversation. But yeah, kick us off here. What were your initial thoughts on the album? How are you feeling?
I'm just gonna start this just to say that this is not a bad album, but it's an extremely disappointing album. This feels like Certified Lover Boy 2. That one still really hasn't grown on me too much, but like it just gives that same vibe. I had, like extremely high hopes for this album from the even from Her Loss. Like that was a good sign, what we were gonna get. And then, to pair that with, Drake saying, this is the old Drake, this is the old Drake. And man, this album, it's too long. It's not very memorable. All the tracks, sound very similar. Like it literally just feels like Certified Lover Boy 2. And I'm like a diehard Drake fan. Like that was, that is my favorite artist ever. One of them, definitely in my top 3. And to put out a 20 song album this disappointing it's bad. 20 song Drake albums, Take Care, Views is Nothing Was the Same is a little bit under that. Those albums I are fantastic. And then even Scorpion and More Life give you memorable moments. They give you something to, go home with, something that I feel like you can bump. And man, I like, outside of Yeet Eat had a phenomenal feature. J. Cole had another great feature. Best artist in the game right now, J. Cole, of course. But yeah, like it's not even giving me like More Life or Scorpion vibes. Like this just feels like Certified Lover Boy all over again. And man, it's disappointing. It's not a bad collection of music. It doesn't feel like an album either. That's another point there. It's a playlist, and it's a poorly curated one at that. Um, but yeah, this isn't the old Drake. This isn't the Drake I know. I mean,
No.
that's 2 years gone by that long that it feels like the old Drake. But shit, I mean, man, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I have a couple points to go off that. First, I think Drake almost sets himself up for failure based on his track record because we've seen the highs that Drake can do. So it's like anything he puts out that isn't at that level, it's just like, wow, this is disappointing. You just don't remember it as well as the tracks that are so memorable early in his career, especially. Um, but yeah, going back to that old Drake, he did not give me the old Drake vibe on this at all, I would say. Um, I think part of that, I mean, the production, I mean, old Drake wasn't rapping on Benny X beats with Yeet features, like,
Uh,
so you can't really say the old Drake and then do this. Benny X, I think, has like credit on 8 songs, I think, or something like that. So it's like, if you wanted that old Drake, I think you needed to tap in with those producers that you've been rocking with from the jump that delivered classic hits in your career. I think you had to get a Wayne feature. I think
yeah,
you had to
that's
get a Nicki feature. I think you
mhm.
had to get back in the more personal raps. And I think he's always going to do that to some extent. But I saw somebody on TikTok and they were like, if you showed somebody Take Care, nothing was the same. And, even like a Thank Me Later versus a Certified Lover Boy, Her Loss, and For All the Dogs, I think you would say Drake is more mature with what he's talking about and how he's talking about it on those earlier tracks and those earlier projects. And I don't disagree. Like, I think, I mean, yeah, I would go back to that as like, that's Drake where he's talking from a perspective that I want to listen to. And now it's like, he's kind of just doing these songs to do them, it feels like. I mean,
uh,
23 songs, almost an hour and a half is crazy. Like, nobody needs all that. I get that it's the streaming era. I get that that's, how a lot of people do things. But I think if you gave Drake a 12-song, 45-minute album and it was like the best pieces of these tracks, it would be so much better. And people in general would be so much happier. I feel like that would just help his reputation out so much. I don't even know.
uh, and I mean, I add on to the like certified lover boy point. At the time, Knife Talk was pretty big. Way Too Sexy was, I felt like that one was fucking
Massive.
massive. And we have a song with Drake and J. Cole, and it doesn't feel like it's not at the level of those. Like, I don't know any of those tracks that's ever gonna top fucking Way Too Sexy. Like, we don't have that like iconic track that's gonna blow up. I feel like, I mean, that's me personally. Obviously, I don't know how things are gonna go. Um, and it just feels very like played out. I honestly, I this could end up being a bad take. We don't. I guess we'll see where this goes. This is my worst Drake album ever.
Mm.
And I'm not a huge fan of Honestly Nevermind, but at least he's trying something different there. I get the vibe there. Like, this is just, I feel it's just like throwaway tracks. Like, this is not a Drake album that I see him. Like, I can't. I was talking to you, the other day. I think it was the day after it released, and I was like, I can't even name you a song, let alone one I'm bumping.
Yeah.
And that's crazy for me because like Drake's why I'm here. Like Drake is the reason why I love rap the way I do. One of the key components of that. And damn, disappointing.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of tracks where I just like questioned the song structure. Like, I was like, what are you trying to achieve with this? And that kind of goes back to your point with like even the track with J. Cole, like, it doesn't sound like a hit. It's a great song. It's probably my favorite song on the project, but it doesn't have that feeling that it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a hit. Like, you're going to hear this at parties, you're going to hear this at clubs, you're going to hear this
Uh,
everywhere. You know, I think you will hear it just because it's a song with J. Cole and Drake. Like, people are going to love it, people are going to listen to it, but it's like, and it is good, but it doesn't have that like hit sound that a lot of Drake songs do have. And sometimes it's not a bad thing, but there were so many songs that just didn't feel like they knew what they were supposed to be. An
Mhm.
example of that I would say is the song with Yeet. Like it has that intro for a minute and it's so good. That intro sounds great, but then it just goes into a normal beat that you would rap on. Like it doesn't do something with like that sample that it's using. And so then it's like, what's the point of having that? If it's a song with Yeet, I think you'd want it to be like a hit that you could play at the clubs, play all everywhere. But you can't do that with a song that's an intro like that for a minute. Like that just sounds out of place. And the same thing goes for Rich Baby Daddy, where it has that outro that's different. I can't see that being played everywhere, but maybe it will be. I don't know because it is Drake. I think that was actually one of my favorite songs. I loved Rich Baby Daddy for what it was. I think Sexy Red was pretty good in the chorus. I didn't love her verse as much. SZA feature was great, and I thought Drake was pretty good. But it was like an over 5 minute song that should have been 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and that's how I felt about a lot of these songs.
Yeah, and that I was one who social media I feel like is going like nuts on Sexy Red. I didn't think it was an awful feature. And I feel like at this point in time, like a track with Drake, SZA, and Sexy Red should be fucking massive. And I've always been one to be all right with, it started with Views when Drake started bringing in, more of this pop element. He had One Dance on there. What else? Did he have Child's Play? Just
Control.
more, yeah, Hotline Bling. And even
Mhm.
into Scorpion, like I go back to Scorpion, Nice for What's so fucking good. Don't Matter to Me with the Michael Jackson feature, that's fire. What are
In my
some more?
feelings,
Yeah, in my feel like those I will respect if he does that lane, but I feel like he's got to pick one. I felt like this album was somewhat in between. Like, are we getting like this pop Drake or what? Like, are we getting the old Drake? I don't know. It's not bad music is what like I kind of want to end my points with is this isn't a bad album. I don't think it's possible for Drake to put out a genuinely bad album, but I just had much higher expectations, and I know there's going to be some people out there who love this album and, it still could grow on either of us here, but I don't foresee it for myself personally.
I'll actually say that it has slightly grown on me. Like I think on my second listen, I was like, okay, that was better than I thought on my first listen. But that's just like I said, that Drake just sets himself up with such a high bar because we've seen that high bar from Drake. And so I think after I was like going in for my second listen, the bar was almost to the floor because I'm like, it's okay, like it's whatever. And then I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. And so I think that's kind of why Drake projects tend to get so much hate at first and they kind of come back and grow on people a couple months later. Like there's that stereotype that that's what they do. And I think that is true to a case. Like I think you just got to give it some time sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't find myself going back to Her Loss or, I actually go back to Honestly Never Mind more than I go back to Her Loss.
I bump Her Loss like pretty consistently. That was one I really enjoyed at the time. I felt like it was just a really great vibe, and like I honestly never mind. That's not a bad project either. Like Certified Lover Boy wasn't like a flop, and I feel like it's one that has grown on people since. And then to do these two albums, I was like, okay. I was really excited for like the vibe we're gonna get. I didn't think we'd ever, get something. Like I said, it's just like a carbon copy of Certified Lover Boy to me. So
Yeah, I will say, I mean, there's definitely some tracks I like on it. I'll run through my tracks I like. I mentioned Rich Baby Daddy. SZA feature on that was crazy. I love that.
mm-hmm.
Like when I heard her come in, I didn't see she was featured on the track. I was just listening on my speakers, like I wasn't like looking at the features or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Sexy Red was on it for whatever reason, because obviously she's like the start of the song. And so then when SZA came on, I was like, oh my god, like I love this. That was good. Uh, but like I said, the song went on too long. Kind of did too much for what I wanted out of that track. Um, but I still like it a pretty good amount. 8 a.m. in Charlotte, we got that before we got the project. And I was like, okay, this is a good sign. 8 a.m. in Charlotte is a pretty good track. I think Drake always just knows he has to come through on
Yeah,
those, place and time songs. When I heard Conductor on that beat, I was like,
that was
oh
fire.
my God,
Yeah.
Conductor Williams, that was fire. Uh, I just wish he would have went full Griselda and we would have got like a bunch of, ad libs. We would have got
Uh-huh.
conductor. Like I wish he would have went overboard with it. That would have been fire. But no, it was a good track. Obviously, first person shooter, we've been talking about that. J. Cole did his thing. That was a good one. Another late night with Lil Yachty. I feel like that was solid. It wasn't like bad by any means, but it was good. Like it was towards the top of my favorite songs. And then the last one, I'll say Tried Our Best. Tried Our Best was pretty good. I mean, when Drake said, I swear to God, you think I'm Shakespeare, that's always what you want to play right. I mean, that's a good line. That's
Uh-huh.
a classic Drake line. There were some just like, wow, bad Drake lines on this one, though. Drake's always walked the line of like, is this a bar or is this the worst thing I've ever heard? And I think this is the project where he's walked that line the closest.
Yeah. I'll end with some tracks for me. I did enjoy Virginia Beach. I liked 7969 Santa. Was Is that the numbering
Yep.
there? And then yeah, 8 a.m. or yeah, is it 8 p.m. in Charlotte or 8 a.m. in Charlotte? I can't see. This album just feels like a blur
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then first person shooter. I mean, man, J. Cole needs to come with the fall off because like this dude does not fucking miss. Like
Hmm.
I'm gonna end this on a high note. Like I feel like this dude fucking tears up any feature he is on. It's insane. Like the feature run he's on for like the past 2 years. Then I mean the off season that was a great project as well. And
Hmm.
I mean no one's touching King Cole.
No, he's definitely in his bag. Another person that nobody's touching right now, Tizo Touchdown. And you
That
mentioned
was 5.
7969 Santa. The outro on that with Tizo was so good. I didn't love Amen as much as I feel like a lot of people will do. Like I feel like that's one that people are going back to. They're like, oh yeah, that's great. Just because Tizo's on it. I thought it was fine, but it wasn't like one of my favorites. But his outro on that track was so good. And then you get Snoop Dogg on it, which is fire because for all the dogs, you got to have Snoop Dogg. So that was great. There's a couple moments I want to talk about before we move on here. First, obviously, we got to talk about Adonis, the Adonis feature.
That was fire. That's like a cool moment.
That
Like you're
was
gonna look
cool.
back. Yeah.
He's a
I,
kid. Obviously, he didn't like come through with a J. Cole level verse, but it's cool for what it was. Like it was like,
yeah.
okay,
Like think
like,
about like putting your kid on the album like that. That's just hard.
yeah, yeah, just a cool moment. Obviously we got to talk about the way the album started. You got a Frank Ocean sample. That was fire. It sounded great. Virginia Beach
I thought
is
we
a
were getting
pretty
some
good track
fucking
as well.
shots at Push too. Like I thought,
Yeah,
like oh,
I
I
thought we
was
were
like,
too.
it's fucking happening. Drake is
Yeah,
Drake's coming, but yeah, it didn't end up being that, but it was still a great track.
yeah, it was pretty tame, but good track and great sample. And then I gotta ask you, what do you think about the dogs barking? Like when you hear a dog bark in the background on the production, how do you feel about that?
It's like it's corny, but I feel like expected.
100%. I knew we were gonna get a dog barking. I think it was Bahamas Promises. That was one where it was like, oh, you're getting a lot of dogs barking. Some of you just got like a little bark. It was whatever, but
Yeah.
it was interesting. I knew it was gonna happen, and I still don't know how I feel about it. If I'm like,
I
oh, that's cool, or it's just whatever.
I was like curious to see what are we getting, a fucking poodle or we get like a chihuahua or we getting a fucking
Oh, we
without
got big
warning
dogs.
fucking yeah.
That's the dog.
So
I
yeah.
literally picture the without warning. I picture a vicious
Like
dog, just going at it. And then I will give a shout out to one other line that just sticks out to me, and that is on "What Would Pluto Do?" Another pretty good track where Drake is getting that flow. Where he's like, finish the line with "Okay," and he hits the baby girl Adonis needs a sister. Okay, I mean that was a good
sheesh.
line
That's
too.
fire.
That
Yeah.
was funny. So I liked that. But yeah, overall, it's definitely not bad, but it's just
It's
okay.
yeah, I was expecting it. We had just had higher expectations. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see fucking Drake just drill us in our fucking comments like Joe Budden.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I almost don't want to put this out just because we got the boy coming at us. But yeah, I mean the album, it's Drake album, so it's going to do pretty well in sales. It's projected to sell between 400 and 450,000 first week, which would be his highest debut since CLB. So I think obviously it's a long album, a lot of tracks to stream, so it's going to do numbers. So I don't think this is really a surprise. So we'll be back next week with official numbers on what it actually does, but big week for Drake.
yeah, I mean, sale. He's never gonna flop in sales. So
No.
obviously huge numbers there.
And then let's get into the news a little bit this week to wrap things up. Let's start off with the projects and the singles. We got projects obviously from Drake. We got Earl Sweatshirt and the Alchemist project coming to streaming. El Camino, Omar Apollo, and Wiz Khalifa. Then we got singles from Thames, Denzel Curry, J Rock, Kevin Abstract, NBA Youngboy, and Danger Incorporated. A second out of favorite. We had to give them some love.
Yeah, Diamonds could have made the fall playlist too. That's
Yeah, it
that
could
one
have.
like has that just the crew, you know what crews it like hit on. So like I could never put it in a playlist because
Uh,
like it's never gonna feel in place. So
yeah.
the Tim's I like that. And then the Kevin Abstract, that was like super different. I was expecting somewhat of a pop. It was like more of an alternative vibe. So I really
Yep.
liked what he put out there.
Yeah, I got big Paris, Texas vibes on the Kevin Abstract track. I liked that though. Paris, Texas, they've been killing it all year. Um, I gotta give love to Earl Sweatshirt and the Alchemist. I love that project. It's very good. Vince Staples features great. Those are, you know, a very consistent producer and a very consistent rapper. So you know we're gonna get on that. You know it's gonna be good. You don't know exactly how it's gonna sound, but you know we're gonna get great production and you're gonna get great rapping.
Uh,
And it's not gonna be for everybody, but I think for those that are fans of Earl, you're gonna like it. So if you haven't given that one a listen, definitely do that.
I really like Vince Staples and the Alchemist. Like I really think this album might make my top 10. It's been out since like August. It's fire. So um
Mm.
yeah, I don't are we getting this project? What I mean, I think it was August 9th. I'll never forget that day. It was like a vinyl or something that they were supposed to release, and it like
Oh
nothing has
yeah,
came out. So I just jokes there. Hopefully that does make my top 10 albums of the year. All jokes
yeah. We'll
aside. So
see. I'll take it whenever we get it. Um, Next news here. We just got a couple points of news here. Pretty light week. When Drake is releasing, everybody else kind of comes to a halt.
yeah.
So we'll be back hopefully with more news next week. But we got 3 points to get into this week. First, Post Malone and Westside Gunn are dropping a collab track soon this year. Post Malone, they asked him who's artist he most want to collab with, and he said Westside Gunn. He's like, we actually got something coming. Blew my mind. I never would have imagined a world where we're gonna get a track from Post Malone and Westside Gunn.
This is one I weirdly think is going to work out like very well.
I do too. And I can't explain it because I really don't even listen to Post Malone, but I think it'll work out well. And I don't know why. Like it's something about Westside Gunn that, we saw him work with Travis Scott. We've seen him work with a lot of different types of people. So why not Post Malone, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I like this is I have very high expectations for this. So hopefully they go crazy together.
Yeah. And I mean, we got Westside Gunn's album coming out this Friday. So, I mean, I don't think it's to be on there. I think it's to be something else. But just got to say, I am very excited for that. We got album of the year expectations on that one. And I mean, he sets out on himself as well. So we'll see on that, but I'm ready. Next news here. Kid Cudi says that his album Insano will have over 40 songs, including multiple deluxe versions when it's released. I know how you feel about Kid Cudi, so I almost don't even want to get your comments here. But 40
I just
tracks
got
is
one.
crazy. Okay, let's
Prayers
hear
to
it.
whoever the fuck's gonna sit through and listen to all that shit.
Yeah, I could not imagine myself listening to 40 songs of almost anybody in one sitting, but we'll see.
It definitely wouldn't be Kid Cudi. It
maybe
100% would.
it'll be good though. We'll see.
Doubt it.
All right, and then the last news here. Donald Glover, my man, kind of back in the public eye a little bit. He's been in a Bose commercial. He actually came out at Thundercats show. They played Shadows together, which is a elite song off Because of the Internet. And he had an interview where he said it'll be clear sooner rather than later when he was talking about new music. This is a great sign. I don't even know what it's a great sign for, but it makes me happy. It makes me excited. I need new music from him, but I'll also be just grateful for anything we get from him because we've already gotten so much.
Yeah, he's just one I like will never accept as dropping music until I'm
No.
listening to it on Apple Music. So I mean, hopefully we get that, obviously. So
Yeah. So we'll see. And you're going to want to come back for that because that's one of my guys. So I'm going to be the guy you want to hear my thoughts on that when he drops because he hasn't dropped since the pod's been out. So I'll be excited for that. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Let us know what you guys are thinking about for all the dogs in the comments, on the DMs, on our stories on Instagram. Love to hear what you guys think. But we'll be back next Monday with a new episode. Have a great week. We'll see you guys later. Peace.